Okay, take two. Hoping this one works. We had some glitches in the last one, so as you guys tune in here, please let me know if you can see and hear me. And I'm just gonna make sure everything is working here. We're talking about uncover your superpowers and find your niche, or how to stop feeling confused about what you do and who you serve. So let me know as you see and hear, as you join me, that you can see and hear me. And I'm just gonna do a couple quick checks here while you guys are tuning in and make sure everything's working. Looks like it is. So that's good. Good news. All right, let me know where you're tuning in from, and then what, you're here because you probably don't know your niche, but if you give me a little bit of a sense of your niche, then that would be super helpful. Okay. I'm getting messages saying you can see and hear me, so that's great news. Just gonna let everyone know what's been going on here. Okay, so this topic is really an interesting one. It's one I get asked about a lot, and I want to talk about why your niche is important, but I also want to talk about why your niche is not important. Okay, so some of the reasons that your niche is not important, let's start there, is people get stuck on this question. Do any of you here, I'm curious, those of you watching live or watching the replay, do any of you here feel stuck around this? If so, just say stuck in the comments. Specifically around the niche side, like who do I want to serve? How do I communicate who I want to serve to the world, right? How do I speak to that ideal client if I'm not even sure who that is? Or maybe I feel like I can serve everyone and so I don't know how to narrow it down. So if that feels like it resonates for you, say stuck in the comments. And what I want to say about that is that it's important and it's not important. So what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck on this question, and it can take up weeks, months, years sometimes, where they're like, well, I'm just not clear on my niche, and I'm just not clear on, or I'm just not clear on my message, right? And so that becomes almost like an excuse, or you're not trying to use it as an excuse, but that lack of clarity can keep you stuck and keep you from really moving forward full out with your business. So again, does that resonate with anyone? Have you experienced this yourself? If so, type resonates in the chat. And I like to make these lives very interactive. If you've never been on one of these before with me, I like them to be interactive. I want to be able to answer your questions. And so the more you communicate there in the chat, the more I can see who's on live and really support you today. So if this is keeping you stuck or slowing you down, I want you to just like put all that aside, because there is no getting this right. I mean, yes, there is sort of, when you hit on the right target market, it can feel really good. Your clarity is there and all that. So we're going to talk about all that today. But I want you to take the pressure off of like you have to have it all perfect before you can put yourself out there. Does anybody feel that way? Like it just needs to all look a certain way, or you need to be super crystal clear before you put yourself out there? If so, we want to take that off the table, and we want to really go to who would you love to serve. And in fact, before we even go to that, let's talk about your superpowers a little bit. So, well, first, why is it important? It's important because, you probably heard a lot of people talk about your niche, and the reason it's helpful, the reason it's important is because these days we're not just talking one-to-one all the time. Like if I was only going out there and having one-on-one conversations with people about potentially working with me, then I don't need to be as clear on my niche. It's still helpful because then I can design programs that really fit the ideal client I want to work with, but I can really customize. If I'm doing one-on-one coaching and I'm only talking to people one-on-one about it, then it's a little bit easier to sort of customize to each person. But that's not typically the case anymore, right? You may want to create one-to-many programs where you're working with groups, or you may want to be able to get on social media and talk to people, that might be your ideal client, and have them get curious to come in and work with you. So when we're having any kind of one-to-many conversation, then knowing our niche is helpful. Why is this? I'll give you an example. Let's see what Nina said here in the chat first. I recently decided to name myself an emotional abuse recovery coach, supporting clients to break free from the chains of torture of a messed up care system into a thriving life they love. I love that, Nina. Great. So let's use Nina as an example here. And those of you, the rest of you on live, go ahead and let me know. Do you have any idea of your niche? Or are you kind of just starting to figure this out? So using Nina as an example, if I had met Nina at a party and she said, I said, what do you do? And she said, oh, I'm a coach. And I said, oh, okay, what kind of coach are you? And she said, well, I can really help everyone with my coaching. I'm trained in this and trained in that, and I really have a passion for it and making people's lives better. I'd be like, oh, okay, that's nice. That's great. But think about it. If you guys were me, listening to someone introduce themselves that way, would you be like, oh man, I can't wait to work with this person, right? Or would you be like, oh, that's nice, and then kind of move on? If you'd kind of move on, say move on in the chat, and if you'd be like leaning forward, ready to sign up when you hear something like that, say ready in the chat. So this is where getting clear on your niche, even in a one-to-one conversation, can be really helpful, because when you're clear, then you can speak in a way that's very specific, and that will attract the right kinds of people to you, right? So when Nina says, I'm an emotional abuse recovery coach and I support women, or I support clients, sorry, I thought it was women. I support clients to break free from the chains of a torture of a messed up care system. So I would say it a little more conversationally, right? If she was at a meeting, or, meeting someone at a party or something like that. But she might say, I support people who have, struggled with emotional abuse and, really don't know how to XYZ, or they've, had this kind of experience and they want this. And then if I had gone through emotional abuse in the past, I would be like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more about that, right? Because she's speaking to something that I've gone through, or something I'm going through. So do you guys get the distinction here? It's subtle, but it's a big one, in that when she's clear on her target market that way, the right kinds of people will be attracted. You see? Now, let's say I met her and I had never gone through any kind of emotional abuse, or I wasn't going through that currently, but now I know, I know exactly what she does. And when I meet someone, or I have a friend that's going through that, I say, I met this woman and this is what she specializes in. She really helps people who have gone through these emotionally abusive relationships. And, I wonder if she's someone you should reach out to. So this is the distinction. This is why your niche is important. Now, that's kind of in a one-to-one setting. Now let's talk about one-to-many. When you're writing for social media, how many of you have ever felt stuck or unclear about what to write or what to create in terms of content for social media? Have you ever felt that way? If so, say stuck in the comments. And what's usually happening there? We're sitting down, we're trying to write, and we're thinking like, what should I post? Or what would people that might want to work with me want to read? Or, so we're sitting there thinking this all through and going around and around in circles, or thinking about what we've seen other people posting. And it sort of becomes this, kind of like writer's block moment for a lot of people. Now, here's the difference if you're clear on your ideal client. When I sit down to write, I actually bring my ideal client to mind, and I go, like I'll think about someone who's actually worked with me, for example, or if you've never worked with someone, you can think of maybe someone that could be an ideal client. And I'll go, okay, if I were writing to, let's just call this person Julie. If Julie was sitting in front of me right now, what are the things I've heard Julie say that she's struggling with? And my topic is, I have different niches. So this is the thing, is you can have multiple niches at different times, or different things that you're launching. But I do have kind of an ideal client. So the ideal client for me is typically a coach or consultant, or they may be early stage, kind of like pre six figures, and they really want to grow to that next level. That's my primary ideal client, and they want to do it with kind of typically little to no like fancy online marketing. They don't want a big complicated business where they're having to post 24/7. They want to do it in a way that feels really authentic to them. So they're struggling with how to grow their business to that six figure and beyond level in a way that feels really aligned for them. That's my ideal client. And typically coaches and consultants, although I do work with a range. So that's the other thing, is when you're looking at your niche, is picking your niche does not mean you can't serve other people. Write that one down. Picking my niche does not mean I can't serve other people. So even though that's my ideal client, I have many, many other kinds of clients. I have clients in all kinds of industries, not just coaches and consultants. Primarily service-based businesses, I would say. And I have clients who are beyond the six-figure level, far beyond it, and clients who haven't even started their businesses yet. So even though my primary target market is this person I'm describing, I attract a range of different kinds of people. But what it allows me to do when I'm clear on who that person is I can sit down to create a video, create topics for these videos for that matter, or create a piece of social media content, and I bring that person to mind and I go, what have I heard this person say they're struggling with? Or what kinds of things do I imagine they're struggling with? And I kind of can make a list of those things, and each one of those could be a topic for a post, or multiple posts for that matter. There's many different ways to address or to speak to one challenge. And then I think, well, what does this person want? What are they desiring in their life and in their business? And then I can speak to those things in my posts. And then I can think, what kinds of stories do I have that relate to this person and what they're going through? And I can share stories about those. So you guys starting to see how this can be super, super powerful to get clear, because it kind of takes this like writer's block experience or this content creation block experience out of things. So not only in one-to-one conversations, but also in, one-to-many conversations, creating social media content, writing emails for your list, putting articles out there online, whatever it is you do to share yourself, share your message with the world. It really helps you get clarity and speak to a specific kind of person. And that is really powerful, because then there are people out there who start to, because you're consistent in speaking to the pain points and the challenges of these kinds of people, then they will resonate and start to become curious about working with you. Are you guys following me? If so, type following in the chat. Okay, I think there's a delay with the chat because I'm getting responses to my questions like way after you guys, after I ask them, but let's just see what Suzanne said here. I help leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs design a brilliant quality of life in alignment with their own values. I love that. So leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs, I think you're really clear, Suzanne, on your target market. I know because we've worked together. So if we had to go deeper into your target market, then I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but maybe you could describe it here a little bit. It's like, what kinds of leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs? So less of your one-liner and more like, what are they struggling with, or what really defines your ideal client? So for the rest of you watching who haven't worked with me, that's kind of what you want to get clear on. You don't need to like know, here's a big mistake I see. There's a couple of mistakes I see people make around, getting clear on their niche. And we'll go to superpowers in just a moment. One of the mistakes people make is trying to get it all perfect, like I said. And let me just tell a quick story about that. So when I first started my coaching business, I was moving out of a different business into coaching 5 years ago. And I, knew that I needed to get clear on a niche, but I wasn't really crystal clear on who I wanted to work with yet. Although I knew it was business women or women who wanted to start businesses, and not too different from the niche that I serve today, actually, although it wasn't specifically coaches and consultants at that time. And like I said, I still work with people who are not that as well. But I just knew I wanted to help women, like kind of early stage business women, get their businesses up and running and do it in a way that felt really authentic and aligned for them. And so that's what I started out with as my niche. It was like women either starting a new business or had a business for a little while and it wasn't really growing, and they wanted to figure out how to break through that and grow their businesses. And so I went out there with that. I started speaking to that ideal client in my social media posts, and it was specific enough that I started to attract people, and I started to have conversations with people, and I designed a program that, many of you know the story, was $5,000 for 5 months, and it was a group program. And then people came in to this program and I started working with them, and through working with them I got even clearer about who I served and how I could help them, and my niche got narrower over time. But it didn't start out that way. But if I had waited to get like crystal clear and know everything about the ideal client I wanted to work with, I could have stayed stuck for a long time, right? I could have been like just waiting for that clarity and not gotten out there and, made, I think it was 20,000 on my first launch. I think there were 4 people in my first program. I might have accidentally said 25 in the copy, but $25,000 on my first launch. Then I went on to make another 20 something on my next launch. And within a year and a half, I'd made 150,000 through coaching with just that amount of clarity on who I wanted to serve. And I had the experience, the superpowers, to back it all up. And so that's what we'll talk about next. But the mistakes are, trying to get it all perfect. And then the other mistake is, let's see if I can remember it. I got off on a tangent there. The other biggest mistake is, trying to describe your ideal client in terms of demographics, let's say. Demographics can be helpful, but they're not that important for most people in terms of your ideal client. So in other words, you don't need to be like, my ideal client is a woman between the ages of 30 and 35 who, lives in the United States and does this, and this. And do you see what I'm saying? That's not going to be that helpful in terms of really helping you get the clarity that you're looking for to share your message more effectively, to attract clients more effectively. What's going to be far more helpful, far more supportive for you is knowing the kind of person and what they're struggling with. Really, the thing that connects your ideal clients is their pain points and their desires. Their pain points and their desires, their challenges, their struggles, what they're going through, what's keeping them up at night, and then what they want, what they're desiring. If they could have anything, in this area, what would they desire? And so that is what sets your ideal clients apart. That is what you need to get clear on. And there might be a couple of demographics in there, it might be men or women, or it might be all people. It might be, what else? It might be that they're in a specific kind of career, or maybe not, or business, or at a certain stage of business, like with me. Or like Nina, people who've struggled or gone through emotional abuse, right? So that's a specific pain point. And then she could go much deeper into what other pain points they have and what other desires they have. And that really gives her that clarity. Nina says, what is meant by brand and copy? Did I say brand and copy, Nina? I can't remember. Let me know if that's something I said, and if so, I can let you know how I define those, or was it something you're asking about from something else? Suzanne says, specifically people who are experiencing stress in the workplace and at home. Yeah, absolutely. And I know you know even more specifically than that what those stresses are and what they're going through and what those challenges are, and then also what do those people want, right? And what we want to be really clear on is what do they want in their words, not in your words. So everybody who's watching right now, let's make this interactive, because you could sit back and watch, right? But you're not going to get that much out of it if you're just passively listening. So I'd love for you to get in here and actually participate. So just based on what I'm sharing here about really getting clear on the sort of pains or challenges and the desires of the person you'd most like to serve. And by the way, the easiest way to come up with this is to pick a real person. This is, you guys, this one little hack will make everything easier for you. Instead of trying to narrow down all these qualities, pick a real person. Think of someone in your life, whether they're a past client you've worked with or a current client, or maybe you don't have any clients and it's just someone you know that you think, man, I would love to work with them. Doesn't mean you have to, but they're really an ideal client. That's someone I would love to work with. I see it could really provide value for. Everyone right now watching this video, I challenge you, there's a lot of you on here not commenting, I challenge you to think of a real person right now. Bring them to mind. I want you to see them in your mind's eye and think of their name. A real person you know. And when you have that person, type "got it" in the chat. Type "got it" in the chat. You don't have to tell me who they are or anything like that, but I want you, because to do this exercise, you're going to need to have a real person in mind. So I'm going to wait in silence here. All right, we've got one "got it." There's a lot more of you on here. I want to hear that you've all got it so we can go through the next part of the exercise. Okay, Marina says got it, 2 people. So start with 1, Marina. Start with 1, and you can always do the exercise with the second person. And then what you can do, I wouldn't do this with more than like 2 or 3 people, but it's fine to have, 2 or 3. But you want to go through the exercise with 1 person, and then you want to come back and do the other person later, and then see what the similarities are in those people. All right, there's a lot more of you on, so I need to get some more got it here in the chat so we can go through the exercise. I'll take a sip of my coffee while we wait here. The question coming in. While I read this question, the rest of you be thinking and post here when you got your person. Nina, can you offer any guidance for reaching out for our collaborations? I don't know what you mean by collaborations. My questions are not based on anything you said. I actually don't know anyone at present other than oh, you're saying you don't know someone that's an ideal client. You can use yourself, a past version of yourself, as the ideal client. So I wouldn't recommend it for most people, but Nina, if you really don't know anybody else in your life who struggled with emotional abuse, then you could use yourself. I will say though, if you don't know anyone, I mean, you may just not know it, right? Because that's a pretty personal thing. So I think you can use a past version of yourself as your ideal client. Does that make sense? Okay, so we've got at least a few got it, so we're gonna move forward. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and do this exercise as well. So you have that person in mind, and then I want you to really imagine that you are that person. Imagine you are that person, or imagine you're having a conversation with them, whichever one works for you. And usually I do this, like I role play this with people where they will be, like I'll be the person asking the questions and they will be their ideal client. So I would say like, Marina, one of your people, you imagine you're her, and then I'm gonna ask you the questions. So let's do it that way. Actually, I'll role play with you guys even though you're not on video, but you can kind of be thinking about it in your mind. So Marina, and Suzanne and Nina, whoever else is watching. So imagine you are that person. Kind of get yourself into that frame of mind. Think about their life, think about what you know about them, or think about, what it was like when you were going through those things before. And I'm just going to ask you some questions, and then you're going to respond. You could respond out loud, if nobody's around, or you could write it down as that person would respond in their words. So question is, in this area, so whatever the area is that you help people with, so Nina, that would be recovery from emotional abuse. Suzanne, that would be stress in the workplace and at home. Marina, I don't know your focus, but whatever that is. So in this area, what's challenging you right now? So you would reply as them. So let's just imagine I'm Suzanne, and she would say, she's imagining she's one of her ideal clients. She would say, I'm just so tired. Like I'm working all the time. I have so many demands at work. And then I come home and my family wants my time and attention, and I just don't have anything else left to give. For example, right? I'm just making that up. But you're going to literally ideally speak it out loud or record yourself on an audio, or write your answers, and you can keep going, dig deeper. So you're going to ask, like, tell me more about that, and what other challenges are you going through? And so this is a process I take people through to really get clearer on their target market and what their target market is struggling with, or their niche. And then same thing on the other side, like what do you want in this area? Like if you could have it all your way, how would your life be different? What would you want? And then go deeper and deeper and deeper there. And you want to do this in their words, not describing what you think they want. You guys get the distinction there? So this is a really, really powerful exercise, and I don't want to spend too much more time on this because I want to come back around to your superpowers. But this is just like the tip of the iceberg with this conversation of your niche. But it is, I mean, we got through a lot there. It is a huge and powerful way to start to dial in deeper and really know, like I said, who do you serve, and then we can kind of extract this out to where you never have to struggle with the question of what do you do ever again. So how do you then answer that question? And you never have to struggle with sitting down and creating content on social media again. So there's a lot of ways we utilize this exercise and some other exercises around getting clear on your niche to help you feel like you know exactly how you're putting yourself out there, you know what your message is. And by the way, it's really important that people are resonating with your message, right? Because if you're not getting people curious, then that's important to note too. And it's like, is that the target market for you? Like Nina, for example, you know, I would go with that market for a while and really go out there with that message, be consistent with it for a while. And if you're not getting any sort of bites or leads or anything, then something about that needs to be tweaked. Maybe it's not exactly the target market for you, or maybe it's something in the way you're communicating that. So there's a lot more to this, but that's at least the beginning point. Is everybody getting value from this? Are you getting more clarity? If so, type value in the chat. I'd love to hear if it's really landing and resonating for you. The next thing is your superpowers. So, you know, there's the ideal client you want to serve, and then there's serving people in your superpowers. And this really comes down to like your unique genius and what sets you apart, and not operating just from your strengths or like just something you've gone through, but really like, what are you uniquely gifted at? What are you uniquely brilliant at? And there's a difference between your zone of excellence, or things that you're good at, skills, and then your zone of genius. And both are really, really powerful. But my question would be like to really start to explore, how can I serve people? And you can make a list. You know, we do different kinds of exercises around this in my programs. You can make a list of all your skills and all the things you've learned and all the experiences you've had that you've gone through that you can really bring to the table to serve people and, you know, have learned from. And then your superpowers to me are really about like, what are the things that when you do them, you're so lit up and alive and you feel like completely in flow and completely like your true self. And it just like, yeah, how do I describe this? Maybe I'll just give examples. For me, my superpowers are, there's a certain kind of like strategy and seeing that I'm really gifted at, especially with people around their message and their marketing. That was my career for 6 years before I ever got into coaching. And the superpower in that for me is like speaking to someone and seeing like their ideal client or seeing their message, and it just kind of downloads for me of like how to communicate what it is they do. And that's a superpower for me. Structure and strategy at a high level is a superpower for me. And I love that. I feel so in flow and lit up when I get to do those things. And then other superpowers for me are coaching. And, you know, really when I go on a coaching call, I'm so in flow. I'm so like, my attention's completely off myself and onto the other person. And again, like ideas and clarity and things drop in for me as I'm working with someone. Being on photo shoots is a superpower for me. It's something I love. Writing is a superpower for me. So most of us have at least 3 to 5, maybe 6 or more. I mean, you might have more, but I think a lot of us have about a handful of superpowers, right? So those are like really things that I know are in my highest alignment, my highest aliveness. And so they're important pieces of anything that I do. and how I serve people. And then there's also my life experiences. I have a decade plus of entrepreneurship experience. I have many challenges I went through along the way. I have, basically a lifetime of coaching experience since I've been raised in this work. And so those are other gifts that I get to bring to the table to serve my clients. So that's what I want you to think about, is then finding the intersection between your ideal client and your superpowers, right? And your skills might come into there a little bit, but your skills don't necessarily light you up. They're things you've learned that you're good at, but they don't necessarily light you up. And we want to make sure whatever you're doing, it does meet in this intersection between the person you want to serve, what they're struggling with in their own words, and then your unique gifts and superpowers. So Nina says, having had my parents... Thank you. She said it shows that you love photo shoot sessions. They're always amazing. Thank you. Well, actually, to that point, I want to share with you all, I have something coming tomorrow that I haven't announced yet, but I want to announce it here first to our group. And that is a 3-day free masterclass series called Magnetize. So the thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of people talking about a lot of complicated marketing advice out there, and it gets confusing. Has anyone ever experienced that? It's like there's so many different people saying so many different things, and you don't know what to do or what to take action on. It's confusing, it's complicated, and it's overwhelming. And then another thing I've noticed is that there's kind of this hard work paradigm going on where it's like people are approaching even growing their businesses, which should be fun, like hard work. It feels like hard work. It feels like a slog. You're not getting results. And it's like, why? And so I really wanted to create this offering for you all where we blast through like all of that and we break through whatever is keeping you stuck, which often has nothing to do with the strategies. It has nothing to do with the strategies. It has to do with your mindset. It has to do with your fears, your beliefs, the things that, like, in my experience with my clients, yes, they need the strategy, but that's like a tiny percent of it. How many of you have ever had the experience that you know what you should be doing to grow your businesses, but you're just not doing it? If you've ever had that experience, then that is absolutely a mindset piece, right? Or you feel like you're too busy or you're too whatever you are. And that is not it. I just worked with a client recently who was going through this. She'd been working with me for a little while, and she was like not, really making a huge forward momentum in her business. And I said, let's look deeper at what's really going on here. And we went into more the mindset side and the beliefs and the fears, and we discovered some really important things that were like blocking her from moving forward. And when we removed those, I literally just this morning saw she signed another 6-month client. She's like on fire now. It's amazing to see her go. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with you all in this Magnetize Masterclass series, is I want to lead you through the kinds of processes that I led her through and that I use with my clients and that I use with myself to break through whatever is keeping you stuck. Whatever fears, doubts, lack of clarity, lack of confidence is slowing you down or stopping you from creating your business at the level that you know you're capable of. So if you're curious to attend that, the page will be up tomorrow. It's not up yet. So if you're curious to attend that, type Magnetize in the chat and make sure that we are friends on Facebook, or that you maybe send me a private message if we're not friends on Facebook with the word Magnetize in it, because otherwise I won't be able to message you. If we're not connected as friends, or if you don't message me, then you won't receive my message. So if you're curious about that masterclass series, type Magnetize in the comments, or send me a message that says Magnetize, and I am going to make sure that you get that link when it goes live tomorrow. It's free. It's March 24th through 26th. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I wanted to make it really doable for you guys, even if you're working or, have a lot of stuff going on. And it's only 90 minutes a day. So it's 3 90-minute sessions. And this is not sitting there and having a lot of theory and just like, sitting back and learning. It is interactive. You are going to be led through processes. I want you to bring your journals, bring your, pen and paper to go through these processes and really walk out of this 3-day experience transformed. Walk out of it with the clarity, the confidence, and those blocks and beliefs and all those things removed so that you can go to that next level in your business. So that all those strategies you're learning, whichever one you choose is the right one for you, will actually take you to that next level. And you're not just going to continue to flounder basically, or continue to feel stuck because the patterns that are showing up. So that is my invitation to you. I'm so excited about it. Even if you can't make it to the live sessions, there will be replays available for 1 week only. So you'll want to make sure to block time off to watch those. And are there any other questions about your niche and target market? We went through some really seemingly simple, but very powerful processes today. So if it went by too fast for you, go back, watch it again, do the writing, do the exercises to really help you get clear. It's going to make such a difference in your business. Nina says, my story means I've done a lot of hiding. I don't know what that means, but I think you maybe mean that like you've done a lot of hiding, but now you're coming out. Is that what you're saying? Which is still happening and being asked to do reflection work, magnetize. In the UK, so the times in the US I think are 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. every day, which would be, I think you're 6 hours ahead, so I think it would be 7:30. I have to look at that, but I'll put it all out. It'll all be on the page, and we have an add event link, so you can add it to your calendar with one click once you sign up. So it'll be super easy for you. And I think that's it if there are no other questions. So thank you all for being here live. Thanks for your patience since we had to restart the video. We were having some technical challenges today. And if you are curious about Magnetize, just type that in the chat. Make sure to send me a message if we're not friends on Facebook. I'll see you all next week. We actually have a call or a video, a live on Monday, which is the confidence code. So next week is all about confidence. It's about confidence and visibility, how to be more confident and get more visible. If you feel any like hesitation or blocks around putting yourself out there online, then that's what we're going to be talking about next Monday at noon Central Time, US Central Time. So be sure to convert that to your time zone, and I'll see you all there. Bye.